Model helicopter flying, you know, is more than child's play. In fact, it's a serious hobby. Curtis Youngblood is the 3-times world champion. He also designs model helicopters for a living. At the moment, he's in Australia. He's here for the Shepparton International Model Helicopter Show. And Curtis joins us now from Melbourne. Curtis, good morning to you.
Good morning.
We call it, or described it as a hobby. Is it more than a hobby for you? Is this serious business?
For me, I try to keep it as much of a hobby as I can, just because I do enjoy it, but it is what I do for a living, yes.
How did you get started in model helicopter flying?
I did it with my father. I grew up flying and flying around with my father. He'd take me to the flying field every weekend while he flew, and I just it was natural for me to get into it.
Is it an expensive hobby or pastime?
It can be, although a lot of the beginner setups now are relatively inexpensive. I think in Australia, a beginner setup's about 1,500 Australian dollars.
Okay. Now, well, for example, the model helicopter you've got with you this morning and that you're going to show us as you put it through its hoops, as you were, what would that cost?
This one's more of a professional model. It's more in the range of 5,000 to 6,000 Australian dollars.
Now, when you say professional model, explain the difference between, you know, the guy that builds one of these for $1,500 as a hobby and the professional model.
The biggest difference, though actually performance is very similar, the biggest difference is I can fly this thing for a whole year, being quite brutal to it basically, and it holds together. So it's really just a more durable equipment, although the performance is very similar.
How maneuverable are they? Well, can you show us? Can you put that one of yours in the air?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Do that right away.
So you've got, that's the remote control?
Yeah, that's actually the actual controller.
Okay. So how, they are maneuverable, very maneuverable?
Yeah, you can do basic, normal helicopter flying with them, but then you can also do some more aerobatic maneuvers.
Now tell me, how many have you lost pushing them to the limit? Because I know you do that. Wow.
I probably crash about 6 times a year, but about 1,000 flights a year, so my numbers are pretty good.
Models like yours, I don't know whether the one we're looking at live now, but models are used a lot in the movie business these days. Explain how they're used.
They'll carry a lot of your camera equipment. You'll see a lot of commercials and other things where there's a lot of aerial shots and movement shots, and that's often done with the models because it's a lot less expensive than the full size.
Curtis, what sort of altitude can you get that model to before you lose control of it or lose radio contact with it?
Actually, the range is about 3 miles, so you can get far out of visual sight before you actually lose radio contact.
What, and the shows, like this one at Shepparton in Victoria, you've come out from the States for, what sort of crowds do they attract?
It's hard. Well, actually, this show, I'm not sure. There'll probably be, 80 to 100 actual spectators, and then probably the same number of pilots. But spectators come and go at a time, so I'm not sure how many total there'll be.
Do you fly, incidentally?
I do not have a license for full scale. My father is a pilot. I generally stick to the models.
Never been tempted to try your hand in a whirlybird?
The full scale is different for me. It's almost, the full scale is almost like a bus or something. I mean, it's done for transportation. Where this for me is entertainment.
It's not a bad life though, is it? I mean, you play with toys for a living. It's a good living. Do you make money from it?
You make money. It's more, you have to do many different things to make enough money to make a living. So you're sort of a jack of all trades, but it's definitely an enjoyable thing to do.
Well, I know this is your 4th or 5th visit to Australia. Thanks for putting that little toy through its paces, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Curtis.